Could Cardano ADA be on the verge of a 300% rally? We're going to dig into that. And could midnight really ignite Cardano's ecosystem along scalability with Hydra? Lots to dig into. If you enjoy this sort of content, hit the like button, subscribe. Let's waste no time. Let's go. So we're going to start here then on coin market cap. The total market cap of crypto globally is up 1.21% at the time of recording, now sitting at $3.7 trillion, with Bitcoin just breaking 110,000, now sitting at 110,236.44, up a whopping 2% in the past 24 hours, with Cardano at 64 cent 11, up 0.78% in the past 24 hours. If we actually look at the market cap of crypto globally and all the other data here, we can see the fear and greed index is now at 28, which is in the fear section. We've got the altcoin season at 25 out of 100. So it doesn't look like we're getting altcoin season right now. And, you know, we've got outflows today, for yesterday. Is it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. For Bitcoin and Ethereum. So yeah, just keeping an eye on this, but ultimately, you know, the whole macro landscape is not looking great right now. We are waiting for the, you know, interest rate cuts to really have an impact, and I think that they will as more liquidity comes into this market, which is going to happen in my opinion. So, you know, we're right on the cusp of, you know, moves to the upside, and I'm really excited about that. Very passionate about it. Obviously, it's just my opinion, not financial advice. This market is super risky. You do risk losing all of your money. So, you know, go speak to a financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Nothing's guaranteed in crypto. You do risk losing all of your money investing. So Cardano surpasses Bitcoin and Ethereum in decentralization metrics, something to be really sort of aware of, right? The Nakamoto 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰cie, I can't even pronounce that, of 21 outpaces Bitcoin at 3 and Ethereum at 2, according to the Edinburgh Decentralization Index report published today by Chain Spec. So again, you know, Cardano's doing a lot of the things really, really well. And ultimately, I do think that we will see Cardano surpass, you know, Ethereum and possibly even Bitcoin in the future. And I get it. There's going to be people laughing at me saying that. And ultimately, we will see whether it ages, you know, like milk, or whether it ages like a fine wine. My thoughts are this, right? Cardano is, you know, a future utility layer 1 protocol with a compliant privacy layer, which sets it apart from many other projects right now. And I've mentioned about the privacy requirement, you know, the privacy layer to blockchain being something that's been missing, and I've been talking about this for a long time. I guess it was no surprise to be invited to Edinburgh for when Charles Hoskinson announced it, because I've been talking about compliant privacy layers and how it had been missing for you know, many months before the announcement. So I didn't know that that's what they were going to be announcing at the time, and I was like, did I just hear that right? When Charles was saying it on stage, I had an interview with him straight after, which I had to tear up all my interview questions, which is really daunting, right? Like, you know, you going to interview Charles Hoskinson or any other, you know, really, you know, prominent founder of a blockchain project in the crypto space. You know, we're talking like top tier projects, right? You know, you don't really want to be tearing up your questions before an interview. It's very daunting. But, you know, I thought it was an epic interview where we sort of talked about everything midnight, right? And, you know, it was very, spontaneous in the respect of the questions, that they just weren't thought out. So you were getting like the raw, you know, questions that I had from, you know, hearing what I just heard on stage like 10, 15 minutes earlier. So look, I think that, you know, Cardano's positioned really well. The fact that, you know, it's beating Ethereum and Bitcoin on these metrics, for me, is another indicator that it will obviously surpass and, you know, do better in other metrics than Bitcoin and Ethereum in the future. And I say that with a lot of conviction, right? For anybody that wants to debate where the future of blockchain, is going to be, and where Bitcoin could end up, I'm quite happy to have those open debates, not an issue. Everybody's got an opinion, that's completely fine. You don't have to have the same opinion as me. That's what makes this world a phenomenal place. It would be a very boring place if everybody thought the same, right? So Cardano eyes 300% rally, and I wanted to just focus on that, right? According to this, Cardano climbed 7% after the Hydra upgrade, gaining fresh attention after a major scalability upgrade. Hydra went live, powering the midnight application. This makes it a big leap for the network. So really big deal, enabling fast and cheaper transactions. And then we've got Cardano's midnight mints 24 billion night tokens before mainnet launch. Midnight mints 24 billion night tokens as Cardano's sidechain prepares for its mainnet launch. Lock in the supply for future distributions. So really big deal. And like, this is a really big deal. Mark my words, this is game changing for blockchain as a whole, right? There's 8 projects, I believe, that are going to be utilizing Midnight Ethereum, Bitcoin potentially, if it ever wanted to, Solana, BAT, the list goes on. XRP is another one, right? So I think that this is going to be great. I think that it's what is needed to bring in mainstream adoption. We're talking banks, we're talking healthcare, we're talking about really changing the game when it comes to blockchain. And obviously you can still pick up some midnight tokens. I'd encourage people to do so. You can do this. There's a scavenger hunt that's about to start, so get involved, right? Great opportunity in my humble opinion. Obviously not financial advice. Treat this purely as entertainment purposes only. Do your own research. Never invest more than you're willing to lose, because you do risk losing it all investing in cryptocurrency. So I just want to be really clear on that. And one thing that I also want to be really clear on is whales accumulate millions in ADA as bearish momentum persists. Cardano could potentially repeat its 60% rally. And that is a question that people are asking. Can a MACD Golden Cross repeat June's 60% rally? Again, this stuff isn't impossible. It's stuff that is truly possible. It doesn't mean that it's guaranteed, because nothing's guaranteed. And obviously any price predictions, they are just that. They are predictions. They're good or bad guesses, right? Depending on which way the market decides to go. Nobody has a crystal ball. So, do your own research, because there's no substitute for it. And talking about price, predictions, Cardano price outlook, according to this article, analysts reveal $2 timeline for Cardano ADA. And they think that it could happen by the end of this year. Could be really, really interesting. Between the end of this year and Q2 2026. I think we're going to surpass $2 by Q2 2026. I personally would be forecasting the peak of the bull run to be sort of Q2, Q3 of 2026, but maybe I'm alone in my thoughts on that. You can let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below. Do you think peak of bull run could be in Q2 or Q3 of 2026? Really interested to get your views and opinions on that. And then we've got another article here, the Cardano Foundation to apply for .ADA and .Cardano genetic domain name. So again, just really interesting to see that. I don't know if somebody already owns those, but if they did, probably a wise move, probably a very lucrative move, because it was, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Quite obvious that they were probably going to want those, right? So look, my thoughts are, people keep asking me, do you still think $7 is possible? Like, blue sky world, absolutely no barriers in the road. $7, in my opinion, is the absolute peak that I could ever imagine Cardano getting to this bull run. And I think it will surpass that in the future at some point. It's just my thoughts, my opinions, not financial advice. But like, what I would say is, reaching a new all-time high for me is inevitable. And the reason why I believe this, and it's just my opinion, doesn't mean it's going to happen, right? I think it's inevitable because I think that Cardano will get a spot ETF. I think that's inevitable, right? I think that Cardano is, fundamentally, technically more superior than it's ever been in history. Yeah, even when it was at its previous all-time high, it's a way better blockchain now than it was back at its all-time high. So with all of that in mind, right, favorable regulations and frameworks and spot ETFs and all this sort of stuff, there's no reason why Cardano can't surpass its previous all-time high. And people can talk about market cap, they can talk about all these other metrics, but it's all noise, right? You've kind of got to look at the fundamentals, in my view, my opinion, right? The fundamentals, the technicals, the real world adoption, and the amount of market that there is to be had, right? The market share, like these are all really big things, and there's lots of inefficiencies in the real world that with a compliant privacy layer can be cleared up, and they can be cleared up on Cardano. Talking about voting, could a blockchain in the future like Cardano, maybe not Cardano, maybe is Cardano, could a future president in the US be done on the blockchain? Could it be done through voting on the blockchain? I think it very much could in the future with a compliant privacy layer like Midnight. I think that it opens the door to many different use cases, and that is something that really, really excites me. Let me know if you agree, disagree in the comments below. And happy to debate the flipping of Bitcoin and Ethereum when it comes to Cardano. Thanks for watching. Take care, and I will catch you in the next one.